Welcome back to video number 2. The royals have been busy, and of course we have some non-working royals, but I lump them in, so yeah. All right, there's a lot to cover here. Let's go. We're going to start this morning with Princess Anne. She is the patron of the Royal College of Emergency Medicine, and she attended their annual scientific conference in Gateshead last week. Now, at this conference, she spoke with speakers and delegates, and then she listened to one of the professors from the University of Manchester who gave a presentation on how to optimize shared decision-making for patients with chest pain. Princess Anne also viewed winning submissions from a poster competition. She met the designers, and then she met the authors and discussed their studies, which focused on the key issues facing emergency medicine. Way to go, Anne. All right, next up, King Charles was spotted going to church on Sunday. He was driving his own car, which happens to be an Audi. And guess who was with him? Johnny. We haven't seen Johnny much anymore since he took such a non-public role, but I love it anyway. All right, moving on. We're going to stick with King Charles here, who apparently went to a dinner reception at St. Paul's Cathedral on October 13th. This was a reception for international business leaders. The UK hosts this International Investment Summit. The idea is to bring investment and growth opportunities because the government is trying to reset relations with global trading partners. The king was pictured with a lot of people, including Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He insisted that the government, quote, was stable after Brexit, and he said he's going to do everything in his power to galvanize growth. Mr. Starmer, in the meantime, is hosting leading investors and CEO at an inaugural International Investment Summit where ministers hope to unveil deals worth billions for AI, life sciences, and infrastructure. Oh my. So there's a lot going on, and I'm just glad that the king is out and doesn't seem to be having any issues. By the way, Mr. Musk was brought on, Elon Musk, because he was not invited. And Mr. Starmer was like, listen, he's never come to any past investment summits, but, I'd love to engage with him. Moving on. We're going to move on now to Mike Tindall, who we know is married to Princess Anne's daughter, Zara, and she is the niece of King Charles. And he has spoken out since marrying into the family. We know that they have 3 children, just FYI. They are always seen at a lot of royal events. They've been invited to, Sandringham for Christmas and the coronation. And, Mike's been into things like I'm a celebrity. Anyway, Mike has spoken out and said the experience about marrying into the royal family, he said it was easy. They were always nice and always nice to them. It's really quite simple. Mike's children are apparently very close with George, Charlotte, and Louis. And in a previous interview with The Telegraph, he apparently has a very close relationship, come to find out, with George. And, Mike Tindall said how much George loved football, and he's played in the garden with him, and he's passionate about Aston Villa, et cetera, et cetera. So in other words, Harry and Meghan aren't missing, and their children aren't missing from the equation because Mike Tindall has stepped up. So basically, Mike's message is it all boils down to if you want to get along with the members of the royal family, you simply have to be nice to them. He goes, that's all, just be nice, which I think sums up everything. He said that his marriage was easy. Oh, yeah, I agree. And in the meantime, Mike has decided now to speak out about Omid Scobie, saying that all he wants to do is, quote unquote, bag people. Unbelievable. Apparently in 2022, Mike was overheard slamming Harry and Meghan and calling Harry that bell word for how he treated King Charles and Prince William. And of course, they brought out the fact that Meghan lied and said she had nothing to do with finding freedom. And come to find out, that was a big fat lie. All right, let's move on. Next up, Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales. There you go. I fixed it. Was out and about in London, and she was seen basically with this same outfit on, and she was there to support Louis because he was playing football. Fabulous. All right, let's move on. Next up, I told you guys, and I was right, the official list came out of who was going to Sandringham over Christmas. Harry and Meghan have not been invited. They've basically taken the decision out of their hands, which I think is the right thing to do. Moving on. Next up, Prince Michael of Kent on the 13th of October went to a Trafalgar parade and service. There were cadets there from the Southern District of the Eastern area. There were over 300 cadets there, and after the parade, they went in and had a fabulous service. Again, the working royals behind the scenes, and even when they go to events, they hold the event and then they put them out so that nobody overshadows anybody. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about because that's exactly how it's supposed to be. All right, let's move on next. Really quickly, in case you're unaware of this story, this caught me. They're claiming that Beatrice and Eugenie went to King Charles and asked him to forgive Andrew because they don't want him evicted from the Royal Lodge, which would also displace their mother. I don't know how true that one is. All right, let's move on. Let's move on now to Sophie. She flew to Chad, and she was there on October 12th, and she was greeted at the international airport by the Minister of State, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, African Integration, International Cooperation. Lots of people were there to greet her. The visit is to help support Sudanese refugees, and Sophie already expressed gratitude to Chad for its hospitality because it's taken in all these refugees. So, of course, Sophie had to do the political thing, and the first thing she did was attend a garden party. While she was there, she met staff and charity workers, and, she did her usual thing. She gave a fabulous speech, I'm sure. Just so you guys are aware, this is a 3-day visit. It's an official visit, and her role as a global champion of women, peace, and security agenda, and a supporter of the UK's Preventing Sexual Violence and Conflict initiative. So, of course, the first thing she did on Saturday was attend the garden party. Looks like there was some great entertainment and that she had a good time. Now, moving on, the next day, Sophie, who, by the way, is the first member of the royal family to make an official visit to Chad, met with refugees escaping the 18-month civil war in Sudan. Sophie at one point sat down to speak to 5 women who had suffered sexual violence related to the conflict, which we know broke out in April of 2023. As the conversation went on, you could see in Sophie's face, she was becoming more and more upset until she literally was crying. I mean, she felt so badly for these people. And she later said, and I'm quoting, to have to exchange food and water for sex, for rape. She said that is violence that is being enacted through conflict. It's being used as a bargaining tool. And these women had no option but to leave. And even then, they're lucky if some of them can get away because some of the villages and towns they come from, they can't even leave their houses. Even for a seasoned professional like Sophie, they're saying some of it was just too much to bear. And when she came out from the tent, she had to go by herself to the side to compose herself in order to continue. So when that was over, Sophie went and met local community leaders in, I believe it's called Gettr, Africa. Now that took place on the 13th, and that was to meet the refugees that were crossing the border from Sudan. Now in the area I just mentioned, there are more than 220,000 refugees in the camp that are all living there. By the way, Sophie was also accompanied by some representatives from UNICEF charity. Now, for those of you who are unaware, she did arrive on Saturday and she left on Monday. And we know that there's more to this trip and we'll be covering that in a separate video. But we all know that Duchess Sophie is a champion of UN's Women, Peace and Security agenda. And she is a massive supporter of the UK's Preventing Sexual Violence and Conflict initiative. I love her. Now, I want to make one more statement. Usually the papers don't cover Sophie and the work that she does, which I think is really unfair. Well, for once, it appears that somebody is paying attention to her, and I'm very, very happy she has finally met the papers. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce, as usual, for showing us everything that Sophie was wearing during the first couple days of her trip. All right, you guys, put those comments down and make them good. You know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell. Yes, I know you won't be notified, but hit it anyway. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a physical address, my Patreon, which is currently paused, and my Amazon wish list. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.